Okay, I'm set up to do leak down test now, and before I start, I'm gonna give a few tips that I believe are best for doing leak down test. First is regarding the tester itself. Now you'll see that some of these leak down testers have gauges which you've got the left gauge which shows the supply pressure, regulated pressure coming in from your air hose from your compressor. Then you've got the right-hand gauge that shows the leakage, and a lot of these testers, that right-hand gauge, it just shows, a percentage scale. And, it's got red, green, blue. It'll show 25, 50, 75%. It's very vague, you know. I believe the best testers are ones that have, gauges that read in PSI on both sides. And this is one I custom made myself, but you can get them readily, ready-made, available like that. And I believe those are best if you want to get the most accurate results from a leak down test, because you can choose any test pressure. You can see exactly what the percentage of leak down is, depending on whatever test pressure you choose. And so I testing on a number of different engines using different test pressures ranging from 35 to 90 psi. I found that in that range from 35 to 90 psi of supply pressure, the results are pretty much the same regardless of pressure. I've seen a few instances where it's a little off from low to high pressure, but generally in the range of 35 to 90 psi of supply pressure, the percentage leak down is pretty much the same regardless of test pressure. So that being said, I'm on number one cylinder right now, and I want you to look at the radiator and filler neck when I put pressure to this cylinder. This is number one. And you'll have to just excuse this. I need to replace this coupler. It's leaking, so sometimes when I move it around, it'll leak. Just kind of overlook that for this video. Okay. Here we go. Okay, that is what? 30 psi, and we're at 22, is it? 23. Okay, look at that. Look at the filler neck. Look at that. Look at that. That is with only 30 psi in the cylinder. And this was a cylinder that had good compression. Excellent. It was, in fact, all of them did, except for number two. But even that cylinder that showed good compression on a compression test with only 30 psi put to the cylinder, you could see what happened. Either, we're looking at a blown head gasket or a cracked head. I'm going to go through all the cylinders and show you. So let me hook it up to the next cylinder of the firing order, which is number 3, and I'll continue from there. Okay, I'm on the next cylinder of the firing order, number 3, and let's see what happens. Okay, that is 30 psi supply pressure, and cylinder pressure is what, 19. That's pretty high leakage, but no sign of loss of head gasket seal or crack in that particular cylinder. Let me increase the pressure so we can see just how bad the leakage is. It's easier to it's really annoying. Okay, we've got 60 psi supply pressure and 40 psi cylinder pressure. That's about 33% leakage on this cylinder. And this is another cylinder that had excellent compression. And the point I was going to make it just a moment ago about test pressures, I think it's generally better to go towards a higher range of test pressures, above 40 psi or so, because you've got more leeway as far as gauge accuracy and things like that, so you can get a more accurate reading, I believe. It appears to be mainly coming from the crankcase, as far as I can tell. Okay, let's see, it's in 1-3. Let me hook it up number 4, the next cylinder firing order, and I'll continue from there. Okay, it's on number 4 now. Let's see what happens. Pretty high leak down, just like the other cylinder. 30 psi supply pressure and 20 psi in the cylinder, so we're looking at 10%. Yeah, about 33% leak down, just like the previous cylinder. This is another cylinder that had excellent compression. No sign of bubbling from the radiator on this cylinder either. Let's increase the pressure and see what it does. Yep, it's 60 psi supply pressure. We're at 41 psi cylinder pressure, so that is approximately 33% leak down, just like the previous cylinder. Again, this is, like I said, another cylinder that had excellent compression on the compression test. So the last cylinder is number 2, and that was the cylinder with the low compression. So let's see what happens there. Let me hook it up and I will continue from there. Okay, we're on the last cylinder, number 2. And this was the cylinder that had low compression. And let's see what happens. That is 30 psi. And we're at 15 psi cylinder pressure, so we got 50% leak down this cylinder. And let's see what happens at the radiator next. Yeah, you can see it's starting to come up. Yeah, there we go. There's the air bubbles just popped. Yeah. Yeah, so we are, yeah, 50% leak down this cylinder. That's with only 30 psi. And so this just goes to show you the differences, the immense differences between a compression test and a leak down test, and how much more valuable a leak down test is in identifying all kinds of problems, whether it's a blown head gasket, cracked head, leaking valves, ring seal, whatever it may be. All of these cylinders, except for this particular cylinder number 2, had good compression, but you saw what happened on the leak down test. And if I had not done the leak down test, I would not know for sure. If I'd gone by the compression test results alone, I would have thought, hey, you know, head gasket's fine. There's no crack in the head. But once I replaced the radiator and started up, as soon as I started it up, I had the radiator cap off, and immediately there was a rise in the level at the neck, and I thought that's a little odd. And then after running for a few minutes, I mean, it was periodically, spitting coolant here and there, and I tried to convince myself that, hey, it's just air, but deep down inside, I knew that this looks like a blown head gasket or cracked head, and that's what led me to do a leak down test, and I discovered, what you just saw here. And so this is why I'm a big believer in a leak down test over a compression test.